If you had walked through Tehran in 1978, you would have seen a city alive with contradictions. College girls in miniskirts laughing with friends in black chadors. Old men sipping tea beside young rock bands. Iran was conservative in many ways, but clothing, hijab or no hijab, was a personal choice. People assumed it would always stay that way. But in 1979, everything changed. A revolution toppled the Shah and ushered in a new theocracy. At first, Ayatollah Khomeini's edicts seemed like workplace guidelines. Women in government offices must observe Islamic dress. Then, in 1981, the directive widened. By 1983, it was law. Appear in public without hijab, and you could face 74 lashes. Within a single lifetime, women who had once been punished for wearing a scarf were now punished for not wearing it. The guidance patrol, Gasht-e-Irshad, became a fixture of the streets. White and green vans idled at corners. Officers watched for a loose headscarf, a coat that was too short, a strand of hair. People whispered the name like a curse, the morality police. Visitors felt it too. Foreign women who once strolled unveiled through Shiraz now had to cover head and hips before stepping off a plane. Tourists caught breaking the code risked fines, arrest, or deportation. Even men learned to watch what they wore, who they spoke to, what they photographed. Fear had become part of the dress code. Decades passed. Students were expelled, shopkeepers fined, artists banned, and yet people adapted until September 16th, 2022. That was the day 22-year-old Mahsa Amini died in the custody of Iran's mortality police. She had been arrested for improper hijab. Minutes later, she was in a coma. The police said she had a heart attack. Witnesses said she'd been beaten. She had been a victim of police brutality. 3 days later, she was dead. Her funeral lit a fuse. Crowds in Kurdish cities chanted, "Women, life, freedom. Women, life, freedom." In Tehran, young women posted videos of themselves chopping off their hair and burning their hijabs in the streets to stand in solidarity with Mahsa Amini. By the end of September, demonstrations had reached more than 80 towns. On September 30th, in Zahedan, worshippers poured out of Friday prayers to protest, and security forces opened fire. It became known as Bloody Friday. Human Rights Watch wrote, "Iranian authorities have killed hundreds of protesters, arrested thousands of people, and tortured scores of detainees, including women and children." The names of the dead began to multiply. 16-year-old Nika Shakarami vanished during a protest on September 20th. Her body was found days later, under suspicious circumstances. Another teenager, Sarina Esmailzadeh, died in Karaj on September 24th. Officials called it a fall, but activists called it murder. And in October, 16-year-old Armita Geravand collapsed on the metro after an alleged hijab confrontation and never woke up. Executions soon followed. On December 8th, 2022, Mohsen Shakari was hung after a fast-track trial for waging war against God. 4 days later, Majid Reza Rahnavard met the same fate. Instead of loosening control, lawmakers drafted the Protection of the Family through Promoting the Culture of Hijab and Chastity Bill. By 2024, It had new fines, travel bans, and prison terms for women deemed improperly dressed. Rather than responding to the woman, life, freedom movement with fundamental reforms, Human Rights Watch warned, the autocratic government is trying to silence women with even more repressive dress laws. Internet blackouts, journalists jailed, families threatened. For many Iranians, it felt like the walls were closing in. Not just around their hair or their clothes, but around their voices, their daughters, their futures. And yet, in the shadows of this crackdown, defiance spread like a whisper. Street murals, coded songs, clandestine meetings. Even some clerics began murmuring that this wasn't what Islam demanded. Every September, as the anniversary of Mahsa's death approaches, the ghost of that slogan returns. Women, life, freedom. For travellers, the warnings grew sharper. Cover up completely. Don't photograph police. Don't speak to journalists. A wrong step could lead to questioning, confiscated passports, or jail time. The penalties weren't just real. They were meant to be seen. Fear was part of the itinerary. Imagine a country where, within one lifetime, the same woman could be punished first for wearing a headscarf and then for not wearing it. Imagine a country where, within one lifetime, the same woman could be punished first for wearing a headscarf and then not for wearing it. That's the Iran people are living in now. A place where a single strand of hair can be the difference between freedom and a van door slamming shut. Where young girls disappear for shouting, women, life, freedom. And state TV calls it an accident. Where the law of clothing has become a tool of control. Not only over women's bodies, but over the nation's voice. And yet, as the morality patrol vans prowl the streets, there are still bonfires of scarves at night. There are still mothers who whisper their daughters' names to journalists in exile. There are still men and women risking prison to upload one more video before the internet cuts. The mandate has changed lives, yes, but it hasn't killed the memory of what life was like before. And that memory is dangerous. Because in the end, what terrifies a dictatorship isn't uncovered hair, it's uncovered truth. That's the story of the dress code that turned into a weapon, the protests that turned into a movement, and the names, Mahsa, Nika, Sarina, Armita, that turned into a warning whispered like a ghost around every corner. What was done to them could be done to you.